Good evening, everyone. How are you all doing? Welcome back to the RLO podcast. It's been a while, and we've finally got a proper guest on here. Amphis, how you doing, mate?
Good. Happy to see everyone. Yeah. Looking forward to tonight.
Where's the what happened to your lights? You just not working, or
my face is bright enough right now. I'm feeling happy with the situation.
It's the gamer buff, Yummy. You got to turn all the lights off. You got to play in a dark room. It's great for your eyes.
You're just using your bright smile, huh?
Yeah, very bright. Yeah, and the light bulb in the back.
And
the rectangular light bulb.
Good to see you have had a shower. He's got the emo hair going on. How's it going?
I was just blasting some great songs. Where are you? It was great. It was absolutely great. And, I'm a guest as well, all right, Yummy? Come on. This is my first time on the show.
No, I said a proper guest.
Wow. All right. Sticks and stones.
I'm not denying that you're a guest, Tins. So, well, welcome to the show, Tins. For those of you at home who don't know Tins, he said that he was studying up before this to make sure that he remembered and was correct. So what a nerd, Tins. What are your thoughts on the weekends that we just had?
I was actually on a Saturday, so I have more to say. It's absolutely insane. But it was a bit of a shake up. I wanted the finals to go to a second reset, but Amphis just had to absolutely ruin that for everyone watching and the viewers. So unfortunately, they pulled off the reverse sweep. And I think we got some pretty good showings from some new teams as well. We got Reborn Titans, highest global elite teams like that.
Tell us about that, Amphis. Is that your favorite series of all time? Reverse sweeping a grand final?
I'd probably say I gotta say no, just because of the G2 sweep. You can't really forget about that series. But no, it was definitely top 3. I think just the regional as a whole, just for our team. It was just the most important one for my entire career, basically, just because of obviously last split was a bit. Let's not talk it up. Let's not bring it up for the rest of the stream, actually.
Okay,
no, we needed it a lot.
Was there maybe a retirement tweet already prepared in case things did go poorly?
It might have been drafted up, Yummy. I'm not sure. No, we don't like that word.
We don't like retirement?
No.
No one in OC does. They can't stick with it.
Yeah,
you'd retire and then you'd be Tango and come back second event of the next split, so you'd be fine.
And then 5 years from now, he'll definitely still be here.
He'll be lingering around forever.
Dumbo will still be playing random qualifiers, so will Scarth, and everyone will be having a fun time. But yeah, a good weekend. I think it was fun to watch. It was exciting to cast the grand final. Oddly enough, a lot of us predicted Power to win out that weekend, weirdly. So I guess nobody ever lost the faith, right?
Yeah. I was pretty surprised, to be honest.
Yeah.
I had a little nosy at some of the predictions, and I don't know why people had so much faith in us. I think it was swayed by the Anzac tourney, obviously, because we did win in that. But I don't know. Even in my head, during the whole regional, it was just are we going to play well? It's game day. We haven't played well for 3 months on game day now, 2 months. But
so start of the entire event, day one, would you have picked yourself to come top? Bias aside, obviously, were you looking that far ahead at day one, or were you just kind of taking it as it goes?
I think we tried to take it series by series, because I think we did that last split where we came home from LAN. We beat G2. We nearly got top 8, and we were like, let's go. How are we going to play better next LAN? Instead of being how are we going to win the next
Got to play OC again.
Yeah. So it's hard to find that adaptation.
Plus, also day one as well. You're not learning anything from day one in terms of how a team's performing too much. Although I will say your Power wasn't seeded amazingly, so you had some better matches on day one than it could have been if you were the 1, 2, 3 seeds.
Yeah, no, we usually do enjoy dropping the odd game as well on day one, but I won't lie, we were thinking ahead on Friday, to be honest with you, because we were very, very confident in going through, at least winning
to day 2, yeah.
Yeah, but then once day 2 came, we were series by series.
Okay, good. Well, look, let's get into the power rankings as well. Top 10 based on 5 people's power rankings as a note, the 3 of us here. as well as Basink and Formall have also submitted theirs. Now, there was a tie. So there was some ties that our illustrious Amphis guest managed to break. Was he biased? Was he not? Who knows? We'll find out. But number 10 is going to be a newcomer, a brand new roster here, and that's going to be Heist, who, Amphis, you didn't even put them in your top 10, huh? Don't like Heist.
I like one of their players. I think you can say it. I mean, you know the good player. You say it. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yep, there you go. I think he's pretty good, to be fair. Whenever I saw him, he's very quick. And like it might be NA experience, but he knows when to take time and when to try and just beat players instead of go for like really bad shots. But I don't know. I think without putting any strays, I think Sour and Tiger might have let him down a tiny bit from what I saw. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sour and Tiger, if you're there.
Let him down so much that we'll just assume you put him number 11 because you didn't even rank them whatsoever. We'll assume you put them number 11. But on the same note, they came top 6 in the Anzac Day Invitational, which was the, I guess, more impressive performance that I felt put them in a better spot. I put them 10 myself, so yeah.
Yeah, taking down Merge was good because that was the first time I'd actually ever seen them kind of emerge as a team. So to take down Merge and to not bottom out of that group was really good. And then on top of that, pretty good showing first day. To pick up Sarah and Tiger as a duo was kind of interesting for me. Those two to come in. We got to see Sour have the absolute series of his life and not make it out of groups last split. So Sour, a very interesting player. Maybe can be that player to step up like we saw that one series.
Well, yeah, he showed, and he's still shown little signs of those mechanics still being there, Sour. So he has it in his back pocket. He showed it more in the Anzac Day Invitational, maybe when there was less pressure on than he did in RLCS. But their RLCS result was passable, for their first event, and we'll see if they get better.
I do think it is probably pressure as well, because when I versed that kid in ranked 2v2, he puts in an absolute performance against me. And then obviously he played really well in Anzac as well. So yeah, it might just be regional. You say game that, day.
But apparently I beat him in a ranked 2s with Tonio on my team. So he must.
Yeah, but you're playing with Tonio.
Yeah, but you put on Tonio.
There's the factor. Come on. Put on Tonio on the pitch, and he'll be the winner 99% of the time.
Oh, where's Tonio on this list though?
Team let him down, probably. No, it's never his fault.
Tonio's on the team that lost to Heist, so that's why. That's why. Ho is taking over the region.
So Dumb Luck are not going to be in our top 10, you're saying?
Not with that performance. I don't think with a performance like that, they can't really make it. They've got to be... Dumb Luck are a team that I think is striving for that top 8.
I'm proud of you, Tins, because Bass and Formall overrated Dumb Luck, I think based on the name or something, and you, the biggest Dumb Luck out of them all, didn't do that. So you're in the good books. Bass and Formall never are. Their rankings atrocious. So anyway,
I agree.
Moving on to the number 9, and that's going to be Reborn Titans coming over the top of Heist. Another new roster. And maybe a bigger surprise with Big Rooster, Crazy Soldier, having less experience even than Heist, but having our really, really good performance in Anzac Day.
Oh, we're lucky that we weren't doing individual. We're doing teams, not players, because Big Rooster, those saves were absolutely Rooster would have to be up there at the top 10 easily as the players over the weekend. That was insane, but definitely 2 massive upsets taken down in the Anzac tournament. They really came true. Beating Him Police and 95X were probably the biggest upset in OCE over the last 3 weeks, and then unfortunately couldn't quite take Merge in the Open.
Yeah, you think the same thing? Big Rooster top 10, Amphis?
I'll give him a top 20. I'll give him a 20. No, I won't lie. I think he is relatively easily their best player on most series. I think it's just the raw mechanics. Like, you can just beat players for free, basically.
So you saying that he's let down by his two teammates?
Emphasis, we're two picks in and you've already called out 4 teammates here.
Yeah, basically. No, I do think Crazy's pretty good as well. I think they've been single-handedly let down by Soldier.
Oh, you didn't have to say the name. You could have just, applied it. Oh, God, Soldier.
So by the time we get to the next team, we're just going to take Amphis's top pick from each team, and they're just going to team for the next regional.
Yeah, but that one's a top 2. Crazy, give Crazy some flowers. It's pretty good.
I'll be honest. Like when they were performing well in Anzac Day, all 3 of them were performing well. So I think that's going to be a major factor for them to have good performances in RLCS. Now, I actually put them 8. Everybody else put them 9. And I feel like I'm the only one who's rating them based on the Anzac Day Invitational. So, that was a top 4. That was a top 4 taking down 2 of our top teams, or higher level teams on the rankings, not top teams. So I was a little disappointed maybe that Tins, you didn't take Anzac Day as much into account.
Yummy, you said it time and time on the desk, right? It's the Scrimvitational. We don't, it has its ways. It has its ways, and give them big props for those 2 upsets. And they beat Heist, which is why they did get placed above them. But got to do it on game day. Couldn't even take a game off Merge.
Yeah, I went very recency bias. I think I basically only looked at this regional apart. From,
I saw that.
apart from who won the invitational as well, obviously. I went off regional.
This guy went to the RLCS website, the Liquipedia page, looked at RLCS, took the results, and just went bam, bam, bam,
copy paste.
Well, it's the most accurate way to list them, in my opinion.
So the invitational.
Why are we doing power rankings if we could just sticky paste the Liquipedia page?
Ask JrTins.
Don't bring me into this, all right?
Tim, no, explain. As our regular panelist.
Yeah, the regular panel. All right, yeah. Look, RLCS is the big leagues. You know what I mean? The Scrimvitationals, you can perform well, you can get a few upsets, you can catch a few teams off guard. But when it comes to the game day, when it comes to RLCS, especially in a double elim format, I think Reborn, there are a few other matchups they could have gotten that lower bracket that other than Merge, and they could have found themselves in quite the easy top 8, but unfortunately they just got that Merge lineup.
So if we have Reborn Titans up against Global Elites, who wins? Who wins that series?
Depends what tourney they're playing in. Are we going regional? Is this a regional?
No, I'm talking RLCS.
If it's RLCS, I'm thinking a Big Rooster performance is coming in. Because we played Global Elite on Friday, and they seem very disjointed. They're not very good as a team, really, at all. I saw Negative have an interview, I think it was on your stream, Yummy, where he said that he's trying to learn, get them to learn and build the chemistry within the team, but I think that will take time based on what we saw on Friday. Whereas I think Big Rooster single-handedly, in addition with Crazy on that team, they got the mechanics buff.
Okay, well that's interesting, right? Because you put Global Elite above Big Rooster.
Yeah, because
you're taking just pure placement. What's going on?
They're in a run of form, a run
of form. A run of form that they get diverse Fizz 6. Is that?
Yeah, but Big Rooster.
Give Reborn Titans the match against Fizz 6, mate.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, then they'll be in top 8. They'll be placed maybe 8th on the power rankings. It's just because they're a new team. I don't actually remember how they went in the close quals, but get that better seeding, get the better matchup, make the top 8. They overtake Global Elite.
I'm honestly just cringing at both of you right now for not rating Reborn Titans above Global Elite. That's all. It only has to be one placement. It's very tight in these power rankings. But for me, I can't put Reborn Titans below them. Again, a top 4. How many teams can get a top 4 in this region? There's 3 teams that instantly hold 3 of those spots, and then you have to fight every other team for that 4th spot. And Reborn Titans were able to do that, right? Are you thinking the Global Elite could ever do something like that? And if they had a harder bracket, if they had merged in the quarterfinals, that they would have made it into the top 8?
Well, to their credit, they did take 95X to a game 5. So I kind of factored that into it as well.
Okay, Reborn took them to game 4. It's 1 game difference, sure.
Yeah, 1 game can make a big difference. As we
One
saw
game
in
makes
the
a
grand
massive.
final.
They got,
Well, in this case, because they both lost. It didn't make any difference whatsoever.
It can though. It has the possibility.
I'm just mad.
I'll put my hand up. I have not made the best decision there.
Good.
I would very willingly swap them, but there is a thing. I just look at the individual players, just based off my ranked experience. Sorry to call people out again. I'm not meaning to do it on purpose, but Soldier. If I put all 6 of those players together, Soldier's at the bottom, and I think he's relatively far down there.
Well, let's bring up number 8, which is Global Elite, to talk about this. So, who's letting down who on this team?
On Global Elite,
yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say because I think the only time I've seen them play is when we verse them, and I don't think it's a very fair representation of them as a team. So I'm not going to call anyone out on this one. There you go. There's a curveball.
So they're all letting each other down.
They're all actually
very
quite.
Nice.
Yeah, they're letting themselves down.
Yeah.
No, I think they're all very similar individual skill wise.
Yeah, I think Global Elites just have that consistency factor that Reborn Titans don't. I think if you put them against each other, Global Elite, they're going to be that team. Just the way they played, they were all in sync. And it was actually watching them play versus 95X was actually a really good thing because they are all on the same page and they actually do make a great team.
Well, I'll be the Amphis then, and I'll say that some was like him in their important series, in their 95X series, and needed a little bit more support in that one. But I think, back to where Negative said in his interview that he wanted a team that would stick together and figure out their play style and kind of actually think on the same page. It definitely feels like that is the case. They've got this very get out of defense style, get out of defense first, and then, maybe try and find a single player to create a goal. And Sam was doing that well. I know Shu can do that well as well. So I feel like they've got a game plan that might work. Maybe not against the top 3, but I don't even think if they had a good game plan against the top 3 that they're getting wins there. Same with a lot of teams even above them. So at the moment, unfortunately, the big 3 just have so much more individual skill beyond everyone else in the region that it kind of doesn't matter what you do. You're usually going to lose.
Yeah. Look, Negative just can't quite find out. It's... They're playing well. I just think that they need a few more things time together to try and figure it out. Some was really good in terms of watching it. I think Shu and Negative do play around them very well, and kind of give some that can go upfield, do what they want, maybe even make a few mistakes, just challenging his first man. So, as I do think that team works really well together. I just can't see them quite breaking into that top 6.
All right, Amphis, are they going to be A, breaking into the top 6 at any point in time? B, making regular top 8s?
Top 8s, definitely. Okay. I don't think they can get to the 6, to be honest. I think the best thing that they can do, and it's leading from your point, Yummy, where I just don't think they are good enough to beat the top teams. I think they may as well just stick together because they're so close individually. There's no point in breaking up because I don't think any of them are going to get onto one of those teams that can break in there. Mm-hmm. So they may as well just learn together, get individually better together, and just see where it takes them.
Stop the old bubble, pop in the bubble where everybody changes rosters. Yeah.
Yep.
It's great in theory.
Let's move on to maybe something more of a surprise name, and that's going to be Serani, which is I don't know. It's interesting. I think I put them here as well, and I just kind of don't know why. They managed the top 8, but they haven't looked good, I guess, throughout. They haven't... we're looking too much at Serani of last split and how good they had the last 2 events, and it just feels disappointing almost.
Yeah, I think especially when you look at the individual players, like obviously everyone knows that Finn can basically win a series by himself if he's playing very, very well. And then obviously Fades is the youth of the region. He definitely needs time because I think he's got mechanics, but he just doesn't use them, to be honest, on game day when the pressure's on. And then I think Pagsy is that rock of the team. He's got the least mechanics, but I don't know, if you've got Finn on your team, you need that kind of rock player because like you need aggression, but you need that stability as well. But yeah, no, they are very, very disappointing based on the players they have.
We saw a few moments Pagsy was able to step into that role, get a few demos, and help be that rock, and that's when they looked pretty good. But I just feel the inconsistency of Fades Finn. You know, they're very mechanical based players. You know, Finn. So I couldn't channel it on GZ, but it's just been the most pop off individual player, and had those moments the last 2 or 3 events. But yeah, it's that team that I definitely could feel they can pull up the upset against the 95X or Emerge, maybe a him police, but I don't think quite yet, but give them another event or two, maybe by the Invitational, they'll be up for it.
Yeah, I think in a couple of events they should be good. The big Fades is kind of it almost reminds me a little bit of Hunter when he first started RLCS, because Hunter looked really lost in his very first split, and Fades still looks a little lost. He's got a bit more experience under his belt, but it is a brand new team. I think he'll be fine. You know, he still shows signs of that confidence in RLCS, and often, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Amphis, often the confidence actually just comes from good or bad positioning. Like if you're in a bad position, it's hard to confidently go for a ball.
Yeah, I think a decent amount of it is to just fake confidence as well. Like if you're Sarani and you're going into a series against KCP, obviously you're not confident. Like you're not expected to win and you never will be. But you just need to fake it, because if you play that series with zero confidence, you'll just sit in net the whole time and you'll never win if you just shell into net and not challenge the ball. So you may as well just try and fake it, go for the ball. And the skill gap isn't, like, just purely speed-wise, there really just isn't a skill gap, to be honest. It's just when teams stop going for the ball, they let the really good players solo play. And that's when you start seeing, like, the clean beats and the free goals.
Yeah. Yummy, do you think, because I know they said something about, you know, just playing for a bit of fun, and then they started taking it a bit more serious and they're having that expectations. Do you think they're going to end up needing a coach, or they need to change their mindset with the pickup of Fades? I feel like it's more taking it seriously at this point.
Well, it's such a formal question almost, because he loves his coaches, but I don't think that
you need a mentor, you know, Fades, I think, to become that, you know, next up and coming player, to learn to use that mech in game.
I don't think that he needs a mentor. I mean, I think they can do it as a team. They're perfectly capable. Finn's experienced, and he's struggled in the past with his own confidence issues. I'm not saying that's even what Fades has at the moment. He's just not been looking comfortable more than anything else. But, you know, he has Finn in his back pocket who can help him out for sure. Pagsy he seems like a very level-headed chap. So I think they've got the right people around Fades to help him. It's really just kind of come down to more experience more than anything else. He just needs some time under his belt, some more matches under his belt. And you know what? They could come good in the next event. You just don't know. They have the right players to be able to do it, and I don't know. I don't know if they still have that fun factor or not, Tins, because you said, like, when they first formed, you know, Finn had a choice of multiple teams, and he chose to play with Pagsy because he's a mate, and I think that actually helped him out. I don't know if that has changed. We need to actually ask them. I don't want to really make an assumption on that.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to forget to have fun in regionals as well, because obviously there's money. And you don't really, when there's money on the line, you forget to have fun. Like at the end of the day, that's what we actually discussed during like the split off season after the major. Like obviously it is our job and we need to win, but like we're playing a video game at home. Like have a bit of fun. We're playing car football. Like I think that just makes you play better when you know that everyone around you is having fun, and it kind of relieves the pressure.
I will have to correct you on that. It's car soccer, mate.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Move on.
In fact, to be specific.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not though, Yummy.
Well, okay. A quick question before we move on to the next one. Serrani on the next power rankings. Will they be lower, equal, or higher?
Equal. I think they maintain their spot. Merge are a funny one. I feel like Merge have a possibility to go down, and they might take their spot, but I think they stay at 7th.
I will go. I think they'll move one up, and I will explain when we leak the next team.
I'll go one up as well, but I just think Serrani will get better as time goes on. It'll probably be one up or equal. I think they'll make a top 8 again, regardless. So, moving on to our next team, that's going to be number 6, which is 95X. And I mean, Amphis, you seem to have the goss, so go.
I wouldn't say goss, really. I have a few assumptions, but I don't know. Looking at those six players, well, they have Laxon.
Laxon didn't do that much this weekend, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something wrong because he is very good. He's one of my favorite players that are not in the top 3 teams.
So would you say he's like a top 10 player?
Yeah.
Instead of Big Rooster?
Off the top of my head, top 10 or chuck it up to 12. I think I'm confident in the top 12, but I'm not sure. But I don't know. When he's playing well, he is playing very well. I think he's the same with Finn, actually, where he can just win by himself. But there's something wrong with that team. Obviously, we don't really know what it is. It could definitely be the fun thing, but my guess is that it's pressure. Like, when you look at their series on game day, there's literally just random misses for no reason. When the ball's rolling, just miss the ball. Whereas if you look at Laxon and ranked anywhere else, probably in the Invitational as well, he will air dribble full field, get a flip reset. Like, his mechanics are very good, but he just doesn't use them.
I have something interesting with this team because I actually put them tied 5th. And that's because, yeah, sure, they might not look great necessarily, but results-wise, there's nothing that separates them from Merge whatsoever. In fact, I think there's only one thing that really separates them, and it's a positive, is that they beat Power at the end of last split. So you could even argue that 95X is above Merge, and I don't even necessarily know that you can argue that 95X should be below Merge. So Tins, why are 95X worse than Merge?
Just insider information, Yummy.
Okay. Well,
I was the one, Eddie, to actually put him tied 5th, but I put him 6th just because it's just the consistency factor that I'm struggling to get around them the most. I think they change up their play style way too often. Yeah, Laxon has that opportunity to 1v3, but then trying to do that too much, they become predictable, and then they're just not able to struggle, and they're not able to get those wins, and they have just that play. Yeah, the play style is just what I'm struggling with. Sometimes you see them look at their best when they're passing and get everyone involved. Other times you just see a bit of ball hogging going on from nearly everyone involved on that team, and I think they're just yet to figure out a play style that's best for them, and then also kind of stick to it. And to me, that kind of just makes them a little bit more inconsistent. I would say it's really good now that they're able to take games off Pioneers, because that's what they weren't able to do in the past. They're I think the last 8 losses for Vortex in RLCS are against Pioneers. So, but they've been unable to take games off. But the fact that they got a 4-2 is showing good signs.
So are you basing, I guess, Merge being higher based off that 1-2-4 essentially? Yeah,
I would say so. I think that's a team that, I think the last time they versed each other, Merge actually beat them, but it was ages ago. They seem to avoid each other every single run. But yeah, 95X, maybe it's a bit of bias for me just wanting to see them do much better, and I know they have the capabilities with the players they have, but I'm just needing to see that consistent factor, and it gives me a headache having to watch them sometimes on Sunday.
Yeah, I was a little bit upset with this one. Same with Yummy with the Reborn Titans. I put 95x fifth. And this was a lot of personal experience. Little off when we actually lost them, to be honest. I didn't actually take that much off that series because they were not versing real people. But no, in scrims as a whole, they are convincingly better than Merge. And that's why I think it is so much down to pressure. There are scrims against Merge where they don't really show anything, whereas Laxon in scrims, he's something else. Probably a top 1 player in the world, but I don't know. That's
the problem, man. It's just. I've heard so many good things about scrims. I've heard that they just must play with so much freedom, and they just don't care because they must be forcing every single thing that they can. But it's like they can't convert, or they don't have the guts to really convert that scrim play style onto game day, and they just change it up. Because I've heard a few things about them in scrims, but it's a completely different ball game having to play on game day. You know, everyone always says scrims don't matter, the results don't matter. It's just a team that you need to start seeing some decent level gameplay and some consistency when it comes to game day.
All right, well, I'll leave this up to our audience as well, because I want to give you some results. These are the Him Police and not Him Police. What am I talking about? 95X and Merge results. So on this weekend, both of them lost to Him Police and KCP. Now, granted, Merge ended up taking the 0-3 loss to KCP originally, and then 2-4 loss to Him Police. And then 95X lost to Him Police 1-3, and then KCP, they lost 2-4. Now, I think that's a slightly better result, interestingly enough, to 95X going to 6 games in a best of 7. And then you go to the Anzac Day Invitational, very similar results once again, like almost completely pure same results, where they both came dead last in their group, you know, losing to KCP Power, in that one group, as well as Heist 0-3, and then the other side losing to Him Police and Ground Zero, getting a game off Ground Zero, and losing to Reborn 2-3. So for 95X, they were the ones that lost to Reborn, the better team, confirmed in Anzac Day Invitational, in a very close series, compared to Merge, who completely bottomed out. And that's not even including 95X taking the dub over Power in the last split. So I don't know. I feel like you have to purely go off results there. I don't know, Tins. I don't know. Where
so basically you're saying I was correct by putting them one
yeah,
above.
and I want to throw somebody under the bus because
I'll cop it.
Bassink put them 7. He put them 7 below Serrani, and I don't know where that's coming from.
That's shocking.
That's got
Is Bass just reminiscing on the old Tango days? That's what's going on.
That's got to be it. Yeah.
I don't know. Looking at just purely the series, I watched the entire series of 95X versus what's it called? KCP. Was it in the quarterfinals of the lower? I believe.
Yep.
They looked pretty good. There was a few games where KCP got absolutely dominated, to be honest.
But who was letting down 95X?
Themselves. I don't know. That I think they would agree that it's probably all of them, because they very well could have won that series. I think with the way that KCP were playing and the way few of the games were played as well, they missed a few very, very good chances that more composed players would have scored, and they would have won probably the series if they took them.
Well, you know what's an interesting thought that I have about players is that I kind of at the moment put Vortex and Mock in the same bucket. Obviously Mock has been more consistently good, but they're both like this same role where they're like meant to play fast, open up some space, be the first up to the ball. And you know, Mock is I've found him quite inconsistent with that role or at least like with the way that he plays. And sometimes he's genuinely great, and sometimes he's fallen short. Like very specifically against the Pioneer series, it didn't look like the mock that could have been. But I think Vortex is even less consistent. Like, he's had so many of these series where he's had no impact, and then the odd series where he's an absolute fiend. And I don't understand. I feel like that's got to be a confidence thing too, a game day issue.
Yeah, I think it might also have something to do with Vortex's extremely low hours that he just has always had from RLCS Season X. But him not having an impact is playing his role that he always does. He is just always able to get those touches and help them out as third man. When he pops off is when he actually steps out of into the limelight and says, all right, yeah, I'll move upfield, I'll do some things. So him not having an impactful series is him just playing normal and doing his role. So that's what I mean, is that they need to get everyone involved on that team. It can't always just be the Laxton show.
Yeah, no. And I think really quickly before we move on, going into the Him Police, before we do actually talk about them for like longer, their play style is just it's something else. It's not very
you didn't even need to say anything, just the way you said their play style.
Yeah, it's just like you're playing it and you're like, I'm not under threat currently in this game. But I have heard that will not be the case anymore.
Okay. I'm assuming that's the players on Him Police that have told you that.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
But like, we can only hope that is
I've
the
heard
case,
players,
that it does change.
I've heard players' opinions now for 7 years, and I've heard that worded differently 1,000 different times. So we'll see if that actually does come to fruition. We've already talked about Merge, by the way, a lot. So we'll breeze through our number 5 pick a little bit. Some of us number 6 pick, some of us maybe equal 5th pick. But you know, Tins 5th pick. So Tins, why are Merge so darn good?
I think it's just the better of the inconsistent teams, in my opinion. I wouldn't say they're so damn good. They're
the 5th best team in OC. They got to be pretty good.
And this is a problem, Yumi, is I think they should be a lot better for the 5th team. Merge have great capabilities, but I think all of those players just have trouble linking up. You know, they look very good some days, and then the other days they just can't seem to score the ball. They go for the high waterfall double flip reset mechanic, and then the net was just open. They could have scored it. And there's just a lot of issues that they're having, but I think they just beat 95X out, so that's why I did put them 5th, and think that over the course of multiple events, they will have that consistency factor over Merge, and possibly even a higher ceiling, dare I say it.
All right.
Yeah.
Amphis, Cobbo, or Caleb? Who's the one
great
laying down the team?
This is actually a great question, because I've heard so many people say that Caleb is so much better than Cobbo. Nah. Cobbo comes in clutch in the 2nd spot. Gus is like hard clear number 1 with ease. I would say Caleb only just above. I mean Cobbo, sorry, only just above Caleb. I don't think Caleb's good on game day specifically. I think mechanics wise he's probably better, but on game day he's not the same player. He plays completely differently.
He's had his series. He's had his days in RLCS, but they've been very few and far between. And I don't think we've seen one since the first split. So
yeah,
not
and
ideal.
I think also really quickly, when Gus does play well, it's quite often against the better teams. I think he's had a good series against KCP. He had a good series against us. I can't remember which tourney, but he played very well, whereas Caleb just plays well against the teams that it's easy to play well against.
So it's that matching up to that higher level play, you reckon?
Yeah. I think Gus is more ready. He's faster. And he seems more composed. He's definitely not fully composed, but more so than Caleb.
Yeah. Well, I can kind of
you put him tied.
think I ended up having them tied. On the same note, when I actually wrote this down, I was like, I'm going to put these two tied because I can't separate them. I was in bed, 2 nights ago, and I was really tired after the weekend. Was it not 2 nights ago? It was yesterday. And I was like, I'll separate this later. And I never did. But I'm also okay with them being tired. It's fine.
Who would you put ahead right now?
Mentally,
if you were to separate them?
Like thinking outside of results, I'm okay with Merge being considered potentially stronger. So, I don't normally like to base it on personal opinion because that completely changes, the power rankings. Then it's just a predictions more than anything else. But I can tell you when Gus did pop off against you. That was when there was physicists and you got demolished by them. In
a double elim bracket, funny enough.
Yeah. They were sick back then. Well, he was. Him alone. He was sick back then. They never
changed their roster.
Ames demoing you and Gus put it away.
That was Gus, Remick, and Ames.
The demo mechanic.
I'm probably glad that team's changed, actually. Moving on.
Remick's retired.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 4, and the team that Amphis loves. It's going to be Him Police, who are so hard stuck number 4 right now. There couldn't be a team more 4 than Him Police. There's like such a huge separation between 3 and 4, and then 4 and 5.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I think results show it, and also gameplay-wise, I don't know, it is difficult because I think when you look at the individual players, spoiler alert, personally, I think Pioneers are the third team currently in OS. I don't think that's a surprise. Yeah. And even as them being the third, if you look at the players individually, they are so much better than the Him Police players individually. So I wouldn't say it's impossible for them to win because it never is in Rocket League. You can always upset, but it's so hard to beat a team where they are just so much better individually. And I think that's why we're seeing them not get a good result against a top 3 team yet.
Well, that's the biggest problem is Him Police are so dominant against teams like Merge, against 95X on game day, and then they just can't hold anything against the 3 teams above them. So Him Police, they're a step above everyone else and the step below the other 3.
There's a reason that Shores rhymes with 4s. He gets a lot of them, and I will say Shores is the one that looks like he's trying in these matchups against Pioneers and Ground Zero. It really felt just like Shores and nobody else. And unfortunately, I guess for Misty, I spoke about him a lot this weekend because I had the misfortune or fortune, I don't know which way you want to go, of casting every single one of the Him Police series that were on stream. And God, that guy was inconsistent. Like, I've not seen anybody score more goals, but in both nets, essentially. If you had negative points for absolute stuff-ups, then Misty would be on 0 points every single game with 3 goals to his name. It's insane. I don't understand how he's that inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm putting it down to the playstyle from what I've heard. It's all the playstyle. I do think they can just scrape a win. They can scrape top 3 eventually. Not consistently. I don't think that will ever happen, to be honest.
Who against? Who's the one team? Who's the one team that they'll scrape third against?
It's hard to not say
it's
Pioneers
power.
with the way that...
Oh,
cool. Oh, cool. Maybe
I was just thinking about who's the one team that managed to crumble,
Maybe next season split 2 in their versus us, then yeah, probably. But they should be able to get a win, and I'm amazed that they haven't yet. I'm assuming, without going into specifics, when they change the playstyle, it should allow for them to have a higher chance of upsetting, but I don't see them ever becoming favourites, to be honest.
But without speaking too much on the playstyle, is it something that they're going to be able to change in the space of 2 weeks? Like it seems like the step that they need to go to match up with Pioneers GZ Power is going to take more than 2 weeks worth of gameplay.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the right step. Sorry, it's correct. I don't think you can do it this quick. Well, I don't think you can do it this quick. I think they'll be very, very inty. They'll give a lot of open nets, possibly a few own goals from Misty again. But I don't know. It'll allow for them to pop off, I think, will be the main case, and I think they will have to pop off to beat a top 3 team.
True or false? Misty's trying to play like too extreme, too fast for his own good in a lot of players. This is what I've noticed, is that he's like trying to cut immediately. He's trying to go for the insanest touch, the quickest reaction time, and that's why there's sometimes some of the worst touches ever, and sometimes like plays that work out brilliantly.
I think without giving them a free coaching session, I think cuts are so underutilized with the worst teams. Because I think when I got brought up, obviously it was like, I don't know, a few years ago now. God, I'm old. But the only thing I got told every single time was rotate back post. I don't know if that's still the case, but go back post no matter what. Whereas nowadays, if you watch GZ, every single ball that is dribbled, they will be cutting from midfield every single time. We do it a decent amount. I'm not entirely sure about Pioneers, but they definitely do it in scrims. And I don't know, I think when Misty does it, a lot of the time it is good, but on game day, they just never follow each other's touches. It feels like a bit of a lack of trust as well in each other, just probably because they haven't beat a good team yet. I'd imagine that lowers trust with each other very quickly.
It definitely feels desperate from that, because they talk about it. They're like, we feel we should maybe not be better than any of the top teams, but we should be capable of beating them. We should be maybe even close to a 50% chance to being able to beat them, and they haven't got a single victory against any of them. So I don't know if they're like, maybe they should stop feeling like that they should be 50ing those teams, but I also really realistically think that it is fair for them to think that they probably should have got at least one series win, and there's something stopping them. And part of that has been they haven't been clutch. You know, there's been a lot of series where they've been in a lot of overtimes, they've been close, and they've lost every single one. So there's very clearly a game day, an RLCS performance issue as well.
Yep, and I'm pretty sure they should have took a few more games off GZ when they versed GZ in the semi-final. That series was
more than zero. You say
it was beyond game takeable.
That was upper bracket. They took one.
The upper bracket one where they lost 4-1. That should have at least went 4-2, and definitely could have went 4-3. The amount of games where they could have won. There was an open net miss in one of the games, like a pretty wide open net miss that they ended up losing that game as well. It would have put them in the lead. It's just not clutch, really. And you look at GZ.
Lost,
and you look at GZ, they're very clutch, except for grand final reverse sweeps. Other than that,
got him. All right, well,
that's it.
Let's speak to number 3 then. I guess it's funny because we kind of just trashed on Him Police, even though they're the number 14.
Yeah. It's because
I think we're going to continue.
So much more.
I think we're going to continue with the trashing because Super Lockie started a lot of the trash talk around Pioneers leading up to this week. He thinks there's a big gap between Pioneers and Power Ground Zero, who are like a clear top 2, and then Pioneers. He thinks there's a big gap there. So would you agree? You feel like they're a fair way behind?
I'll go purely off scrims. I would say no. I think if both teams pop off, I don't know, I'd still give it GZ just because they're so consistent. But if both teams pop off, it's hard to not think that Banana Head and Hunter could just win.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are just individually just better than the other 3. Maybe not Fiber. I think Fiber's also very good, but you just look at Beat and Hunter on the same team and you're like, if they play well, you're probably losing. They are very good, but there's something, it might be a play style issue with Pioneers, maybe confidence. It very also could be the LAN debuff that we so heavily got. They might also be experiencing that as well.
Yeah, it just seems to be something where they just need more time as a team to match up. But you look at their last 2 showings. They have, but, you know, they were going up. They weren't able to take games off GZ. Weren't able to beat GZ. And then, you know, they beat Power when the he who shall not be named era of last split happened. And then, same thing. They're a step above Him Police. They beat them quite comfortably every single time, but they just have not been a match for GZ or Power in the last two events.
What do you mean the last two events? Oh, you mean Anzac Day?
Anzac Day. The Screw Invitational. We're adding last two events.
Yeah. Well, okay, so then what's been the big difference, Tins, between the last two events of last split, where it was Game 7s, one which they took the win in, the final one, and then all of a sudden now they're not even fighting close with Ground Zero?
They just love power. As Amphis said, they love the land debuff, so maybe something's happening there. I remember CJ saying something about the lads seemed pretty upset about their performance at the land. So maybe, they're coming back with a little bit of blues. I'm not too sure.
Well, I know Hunter didn't put in as much work coming back from the land. He took the land debuff. And Amphis, I heard you've been playing some ranked. Where's this motivation come from? Huh?
I have. No, it's actually really fun. I think probably 95% of my twos games have been partied up, though. I will warn everyone. I'm not solo queuing.
Thanks for the invite.
Ever. All good, Yummy. The other 5% can be partied up with you, and then I'll be 100. Okay. But yeah, no, back on Hunter, I think he definitely did. His hours were very low. And then also B-Head, I know whenever he loses internationally, especially 0 and 9, and then they went 1 and 9, he takes it incredibly hard. It does make him play the game more, but I do think you can play the game to a certain extent where it gets harmful, especially when you're just playing it out of anger as well. And you can definitely overplay the game. Like if you have 140 hours past 2, it's not good hours. Yeah, in my opinion.
I think as well, like Banana Head, I think it was in the series against Power, but against you guys, and maybe it was the previous one. I think it was against you guys. Banana Head looked like he did nothing, and it was Hunter was playing decently in that series, like maybe even trying to do too much because his teammates weren't contributing. I'm not sure what, but at least Banana Head did have a better lower bracket. He did pick it up, but still not the level of performance that we could expect from Banana Head, who we know can be the best player in OCE in certain splits in the past. So,
yeah, I think
is it a motivation factor as well? Because we know that statistically, it's most likely they're going to be going to Worlds at the moment. So is that something that's also weighing where they just don't have the grind that GZ and Power are on right now, where they know that every event matters, every series matters?
You want to make the major. I think the major's too looming to worry about Worlds and sit on your laurels for a World seat and just be like, yeah, we're okay missing this major.
No, they'll want to. I think it's just play style is very possibly a thing, but I know the debuff is so strong. The land debuff is incredibly strong. I do think, even though we were saying Hunter had the biggest debuff, he did play the best from what I saw. As a whole, he was pretty convincingly the best. When he versed us, he was probably the only threatening player on offense, really. And then I watched them against... Who did they verse first in lowers? Was it
95X?
Yeah, he was really good in that. Obviously, they're expected to dominate them. They didn't really dominate that much, but I don't think that was Hunter's fault. I thought Hunter played very well.
By the time they switched on, they 6-2'd them and then kept them scoreless for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. By the time they finally switched on the best of 7.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a few matches, both the Merge vs Him Police and the 95X Pioneers had the underdogs getting the first 2 games, and you're like, oh, there's going to be an upset going on, and then the team that is better, I guess, or has in the past been better, turned it on and dominated the rest of the series. So
it's just the Merge and 95X duo, just like copying each other,
just dusting off some of the cobwebs as well for those higher end teams, but. Moving on, and this is obviously going to reveal number 1 and number 2. And I think this one is a little up in the air. So number 2 will reveal Dover is going to be Ground Zero. Some people on the Power Rankings committee decided to just look at the results and run down the table. I think both of you put Power 1 and Ground Zero second.
Well, I did.
No, I put Ground Zero first.
Yeah. I will say it was a tie, and then Amphis separated it. So it's a biased Power Rankings, everyone.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for the invite, Yummy, so I could set it right. I needed to get that voted. Thank you.
I personally put Ground Zero 1 and Power 2, and that's because Power were literally the number 7 team for the entire last split. And if that grand final was like a 4-2, 4-1, any form of convincing, then I almost certainly would have put Power 1 as well. But it was also a Game 7 overtime that wasn't enough to sway an entire split of being shit. For Power. So it wasn't even Ground Zero like a good and the deserved number 1 seed. More that Power still have, like, if we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt in the past of them coming terribly throughout last split based on being really good in the first split, it's got to work 2 ways. You know, if they're terrible throughout a previous split and the 7th best team in OCE, and then they have a good performance, they don't automatically get put at number 1. They still have to work a little harder.
We won the Anzac Day.
The Scrim Invitational, so now that matters, okay?
I never called it that. That was not me. What a win that was.
Trying not to be heavily swayed in the last 2 events, like, it does kind of linger over you, especially the last split as well. And yeah, you just look at how Power placed, not able to get past. We thought it was just the Pioneers debuff and then losing to 95X as well. It's hard to put them straight into that first place. I think maybe next event, depending on how they go, they might then clearly overtake it. But for now, yeah, I was the same with you. I mean, I just couldn't quite justify fitting them in that first spot just yet.
Do I think they're the best team in OCE, Power? Yeah. I mean, yeah, but like... this isn't a predictions thing because I predicted Power to win the last event. You know, I said that they were going to win. I think I predicted 100% across the weekend. And a lot of that was because I was predicting Power to win when Formor was predicting Ground Zero to win. And yeah, but I don't think, I honestly don't think it's unfair if you are one of these rankers. I don't think it's wrong to rank Power number 1. So I'm not like up in arms about it like some of the other rankings. But for now, Ground Zero, we got to talk about them a little bit. Have they fallen off, Amphis?
I don't know, it's hard to say.
So good.
It is hard. Oh, we're so good, Yummy. No, it is really hard to say because we versed them a total of 0 times last split. So there is nothing to compare to, really, for us. I would say right now, Super Lucky is right. There is a decent gap between Ground Zero, well, both of us and Pioneers. Because they, like, when we versed Pioneers, I kind of forgot about the series because it was relatively easy, whereas GZ, obviously, results show it was very close and we had to reverse sweep them in the second one. But also, speaking quickly on the reverse sweep, a decent amount of that was because we were so cold off the break. So basically,
the copium's already out, lads.
Was it a 4-0? Can we call it a 4-0? Yeah. No, but that was probably the weirdest series I've ever played, really, in my career. Like, obviously, we have Jimmer, great coach, and he's really good on game day between games when we lose. How do we fix it? What do we change? And between first game, second game, and third game, we were just like, we don't really change anything. We are just bad right now. Mm-hmm. And if we keep playing how we know that we can win, we will just end up winning once we warm up. And that is exactly what happened. We warmed up and we relatively dominated them for 4 games. Except for, I think game 6, we probably could have lost that, but it's all good. What a win.
Spoken like a true player, by the way, because you had 3 games. You lost the first 3 games. That means the first 3 games were the warm-up games. If you lost the first 2, and it's the first 2 of the if you win the first game, you didn't need a warm-up. So
yeah, it just stops when you win, which is fair. I agree with it. What a system. It works. No, but quickly on Pioneers, I think. Ground Zero. Super Lucky was great. I thought.
So he's their best player
right now. Yeah, I don't think he is overall, to be honest. I think Fiber is, his potential is far beyond Super Lucky's and Kaka's. But just off that regional, I thought Super Lucky was the best. He was the most threatening on offense. Kaka was very disappointing from fan perspectives. I loved it. But from the fans, he was just ints. Like, he's usually very solid while he's dribbling. He always gets a 50. Air dribble, like slow air dribble 50s, he gets flamed for it, but it is very effective. But I don't know, he had so many mistakes, especially when we versed him the first time in the upper bracket. We just got so many free goals that were almost directly from him. And then quickly on Fiber, I thought he was average, probably a bit above average. I thought he played quite well. He had a few good goals early in the grand final, which were both on me because I was very bad. But yeah, I thought they were quite good still.
I think, because I got to watch as a fan, as a viewer on Sunday, and there were so many moments where the inconsistencies of Kaka seemed to lead to their downfall, cheating up as third too many times, or just being the reason for their lows, but then also being involved in their highs and getting that clutch goal or getting a good pass. So the inconsistency of the moments where Kaka was playing the worst on the team, but then would be involved in their best moments on the team. But those bad moments seem to reflect really heavily. And there were some goals that I was just sitting there watching the replay, like looking at Kaka going, what's happening here? So if they can clean those up, I definitely think that they can regain the next regional.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about number 1 as well, which is Power. We've already... Unless they're completely not on the list, but that would be pretty surprising. And Amphis, who was letting down Power this week?
It was on us. It was on us again. Individual. I think... Do you want me to go down the negative?
Yeah. Well, that's who was doing well, who was doing poorly? Like, what happened?
I'd say I was like easily the best, like by far. No, I think I was pretty not poor in the grand final, but I think I fell off a decent amount from.
Oh yeah, you were like MVP before the grand final, and then yeah.
Like, I don't think I was bad, which is probably why we won, because I wasn't bad, but I think it would have been a lot more convincing if I was playing the exact same that I was in the upper bracket and against KCP. That might be because of nerves. That was probably the least nervous series of the whole day, which doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm better with nerves, but I thought Fever was incredible the whole tourney. I don't think he was exceptional because he can pop off, like absolutely pop off, and I don't think he did. But he was still very good, very, very good. And then Torse, I think that's probably the most consistent tournament he's had since probably LAN. I think he was very, very good on LAN as well. But I think he'll be very happy with that performance. I think especially in the grand final, and then even in games that we were losing in the upper bracket against Ground Zero both times, there were a few games where we were looking pretty down and out, and then he just scored a goal by himself, or he got like that quick beat out of midfield, which he is known for. He invented the cut out of midfield to get the beat, to relieve a bit of pressure. And the amount of times he did that was unreal. And I think he was a big reason why we won that grand final.
Yeah. It kind of matches my thoughts. You were like the best player for Power, best player in the tournament until the grand final day, or the grand final match. Fever was like the most consistently good, including the grand final. And then Torsos had like really huge impact when you needed him in the grand final.
I think we basically just
give
swapped
him the MVP of the grand final. Yeah, so you swap it around, and you also took up a lot of the Amphis yourself, the highlights. Because I sent a bunch of highlights to RLCS to the NA.
I did have a nosy. I did have a nosy. It was good.
And they put 2 of your goals and the kickoff.
Did you enjoy the kickoff, Yummy? What were the thoughts?
Well, I was prepared. Like, often I'm not really like paying attention on the kickoff. I'm still like, I'm not good at thinking and talking at the same time, as weird as that is. But I was like, usually I'm still talking about the last goal. But because I know and I knew you guys had been working on kickoffs and that you were going to have some good kickoffs, I was actually like really prepared, and I was watching your kickoffs, and it meant like I was able to call and talk about your kickoffs really well, because you had multiple different variations. I saw that coming. I called it properly. Even post-fact, even after people have seen it, they still call it like strictly a Spanish kickoff, but it wasn't really like a Spanish kickoff.
Adapted one kind
There's
of.
like a Spanish adaptation where Fever's going for the demo, but it's not like that's just not what it is. It's like the fake into the close cheat.
Yeah, like we whipped it up in the kitchen. We were planning on doing a lot more. Part of the reason why we didn't is we thought we could win without them. Like, there's no point in doing weird kickoffs when you think you can win just playing the game normally. That one worked. That one's a very rare one because you need the kickoff to be very specific positions. And then we did another one where
we did the double backflip.
We did the Johnny Boy special. And we were doing it wrong. I actually brought it up 2 games into the grand final because I think I only had like a little meeting about it when we were doing all our replay stuff. And I think we just forgot about it. I brought it up very early in the split off season, and we were just doing like that kickoff. You have to do everything very methodically, like accurate. If one person does like an incorrect positioning or something, you don't instantly concede, but you instantly concede.
It becomes pressure. Faulty. There's a chance of there being a mistake.
The reason for the kickoff doesn't happen, and it flips on you very quickly. We actually conceded directly off it once as well. Mm-hmm. So we just thought, we'll scrap it. We'll do it next regional, sorry. And then we won without it, which was good.
I think Power were the first team in OC we really saw adapt into those kickoffs. So back in Season X, I believe. I remember seeing a few during the championship series at the end then. Yeah. So, yeah, really good to see. And I always just talk about Power in terms of even last split. I think Power do have the best chance at the major in terms of getting OC that 3rd spot or breaking into that top 8. I don't quite think GZ and Pioneers are there yet. And I think, Power definitely would be favourites going into the next regional. Don't like to say it while he's right next to me, but Amphis showing signs of the old MVP of the season, Amphis, and being that striker first man.
It's crazy you only say stuff like that when you know that the person who's it's about can hear you.
Yeah, Tins you probably hate me, Tins. You probably think I'm like 30th in the region or something like that.
It's all for the camera. It's all for the camera.
No, I get it. That's fair.
Do you think that's accurate though, Amphis, that you're the only team from OC that could have a good impact overseas?
I'd say right now, yeah. Nothing against the other teams, but when we watched them, we weren't gutted because there's a bit in the back of your head you want them to lose. Really, I think everyone.
You either want them to lose or do incredibly well.
Yeah, and we wanted them to lose because we knew that they couldn't do incredibly well. But yeah, no, we were relatively happy, but then it just like sinks in your head. What if we were there? We could have done better. And I think that's why we're going for it this split. We think we can do better. We just need to get there. And I think really quickly on why I don't think they're playing that well. Obviously, they have three players that have never played there. That's always a factor, unless you're a very rare person. But it looked like a factor, especially for Kaka. Not so much for Hunter, and definitely not for Fiber. I thought Fiber was the best OC player at that LAN.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think, but
I agree.
Yeah, he looked very quick. He looked similar to regionals, which is what you want. But I think the ground zero play style, just fundamentally, it's just not. I'm genuinely curious to see if they can make it work internationally, because when I'm looking at it, it just the way I see Rocket League being played, it doesn't work. I don't see it working internationally, and I got proven.
I mean,
right
I think
when
it
they
would
went
work
there.
if they had First Killer on the team.
Yeah, they need First Killer, Beast Mode, and Vatiro. It might work, maybe. But I think if you have those three players, faking every fifth ball might also work because they're just so good. I think just with the players that they have, that play style is just not it, and they need to adapt to more international heavy play style.
What in their playstyle makes you like? How are you describing their playstyle, and why does it fall short?
I think it's very slow. I think the stats wise, you look at Super Lucky and he's very quick, but I think the areas where he's quick is demos, boost runs, and cuts. Not very ball heavy.
They like to slow down the play a lot.
Yeah, which
is why I say they'd be
bad.
successful if they had First Killer on the team. You know, because he's going to be able to beat international level players. First Killer.
Yeah, so I think the slow play style doesn't work against better players, and you're going to land. You're not the better players. Like most of the time we're not the better players, but we made it work because we were playing really quick. And then that was the other thing. I think when you're playing very slow, there's little things that you need to get right or you will lose. And on LAN, the pressure's on, the crowd's yelling, like everyone's watching, you're not going to get the little things right. There's very minimal players, probably about 10 players in the world, 15 players in the world that play perfectly on LAN or as perfect as you can get. And like OC players don't do that really.
Yeah. So then what about that makes you guys ready? What gives you the upper edge?
The opposite of what he just said, that they play fast and they're willing to make mistakes.
Basically the opposite, like playstyle wise, but then I also do think Fever is the best LAN player from OCE recently. I don't think you can argue. Super Lucky might argue. I saw him tweeting.
I'd argue because Kami was better than him at Worlds, so you know.
Yeah, but like recently. Like
this
recent?
season.
What's the time? Yeah.
But not too many examples this season.
Also, Kami that was 120. Like before that, FIFA was better. Like he only did it in 120, basically. But I don't know. FIFA's just better than the other three at LAN. Torsos, he's shown that he can be better, and he also shown it last LAN. And I don't think I'm the best at LAN yet. I think I'm still getting used to it. I haven't had a really, really good performance yet. But it's been a trend of getting better, which is all you can ask for, really. And that's why I just want to go one more time. And just many more time. And many more. And many more.
Everyone, he's just announced his retirement.
Yeah, boys, I'm done. I've always wanted to go to Boston, and that's the only place I want to see. So I'm done after that.
You've been working for the last few years to try and get to Boston.
Yeah,
and
what a
now
place.
That you know that's on the cards, you go to Boston, you'll be done.
Yeah, don't care about Berlin.
Would you go to Worlds still?
Nah, Berlin. Nah. Average place.
It's not even Berlin, mate. It's Dusseldorf.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
What's a Dusseldorf? Yeah.
Disgraceful.
Awesome. Okay. Well, before we finish and wrap this up, how does the rest of the split go? What's our predictions? What's going to change? Who's our dark horse team that's going to do really well and get a top 4 or top 6? And who's going to make the major, Amphis?
All right, major teams. Sadly, ground zero. Points wise, obviously we don't want them to go.
I see. I thought you were just
not people wise.
Oh, no, I just don't want the ground zero, boy.
Let's hope they don't make it, but I think they will, and I think we will. Got to back the boys. And I think hot take. Him Police will get a top 3. and Merge will get a top 4.
Okay.
In place of Pioneers. Pioneers won't get a top 3 at some stage.
Oh.
Now I just hate to be boring, but I think I'm going to say the same. Power and Ground Zero, they're going to make it. Unfortunately, I think, well, because I like Ground Zero, but I think Power will perform better at the major, so they're probably going to end up going to Worlds as well because of that. And favoritism, I think even Yummy knows where I'm going. I think 95X, I think they can break into that top 3, beating Pioneers. I'm hoping, because I know they have the capabilities. I think Merge, I'm calling the opposite of an upset. I think they're going to drop off a little bit with they have the possibility to finish in that top 12, kind of how 95X did last split.
Yeah.
And I think in place, they're solidified. They're just going to stay 4th. It's just going to happen. They're comfortable there.
Well, I predicted Power and Ground Zero before the split, so I don't know why I would change on that one after these results, after seeing this weekend, but, it could. And I guess for me,
pick.
I'm going to throw Reborn Titans getting a top 6
That's pretty
into
spicy.
the mix over the next 2 events. I do think they're very good. I think Heist will get a top 8. What I'm saying is I don't think their Anzac Day performances were flukes.
What about them makes it not a fluke?
Because they actually look decent. They play well as a team and as individuals. Essentially, this was for both teams their first RLCS. As trios, Hoey's first ever RLCS, and he still stood out. So I think they all have what it takes. It might take a good bracket here or there, and maybe for you it'll be over the top of Merge Tins.
There we go. That's it. We're gonna get the Merge Reborn Titans match.
Combine the hot takes together. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming along. Thanks in chat who have joined us for this evening. Thanks to Amphis for actually providing some real insight. And have a good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.